Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of UGASports Live. Thank you for joining us on a Wednesday night instead of a Tuesday afternoon. My apologies for running about 6 minutes late. Right before the show started, my Surface Pro laptop just completely died. So that was great. That was just lovely. But technical difficulties aside, we're glad you have joined us.
I mean, the show would have been better if you'd have just left it alone, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I would have that Dayne Young and Jim Donnan have joined us. Dayne Young, our executive producer, who couldn't help me because I'm not anywhere near him. And of course, Jim Donnan, the only reason you guys are tuned in at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon or Wednesday evening to talk to us. So appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate all our fans. Appreciate all the viewers. And appreciate everybody who shares this. It means a lot to us. Of course, also appreciate our partners at Dead Soxy, Academia Brewing Company, Your Pie Restaurants, and of course, Athens Ford. Coach, it's today was the Georgia's turn to go through the SEC Media Days gauntlet. Georgia had a fantastic contingent of students there. I thought they picked three fantastic representatives for UGA and Nolan Smith, Sedrick, Pran, and Stetson Bennett. I don't think you could pick three better guys to represent your university. And, of course, Kirby Smart held the stage as the reigning national champion. He was introduced that way. I thought that was kind of cool. It's been a long time since anybody could say that. And I thought he had a pretty good day. I just want to get your overall opinions before we get into some of the clips from the day. So we got some great clips for you to watch. But, Coach, give me your thoughts on the overall presentation Georgia put out there.
I thought it was really an awesome day for Georgia Bulldogs. Just a lot of pride there listening to all the different venues, different people, and the different types of CBS, ESPN, all the different people that were there. Recognizing the fact that even though Georgia has lost a lot of good players, that certainly going to be a team very much in contention. And when you look at all the players that we know we have, I guarantee you they're going to be in contention. So, but a very good job by all three of our athletes on the stage. They did a good job of really talking up our team and not catching up any flack about the other teams. And you could tell that they were very much geared into talking about what we need to do to win and being part of a team. And that's what Kirby's meshed together here with his staff. I also thought Kirby was just very relaxed, very to the point. He had a good message up there that he wanted to deliver, that even though we had lost some players, we really had some good guys in the wings, and that he had a good plan to get them ready to go and answered all the questions that were sent his way, I thought, pretty succinctly. And then you have to go around. I don't know if everybody realizes just what you see on the SEC network is just a little bit of what happens. You have to go to the do an in-person deal with CBS with all the guys that cover our game, like Gary Danielson and Brad Nessler and the producer. You spend 10 or 15 minutes with them. You spend 10 or 15 minutes with just the TV by itself. You spend 10 or 15 minutes with the print media, and then just the local media. He lets Claude Felton sets them up so they can ask some questions by themselves. So it's a really kind of what we call car wash. You go through everything there and get your tires cleaned and everything. So it's a good way to promote the program. And as you finish up the day, then all of a sudden people on Sports Center are asking about Georgia. And Greg McElroy was on there just a little while ago talking about Stetson Bennett and our team. So I really, if you're a Georgia Bulldog fan today, you just had to be very proud. And there's nothing wrong with strutting your stuff. I mean, when you've got it, you can strut it. Obviously, there's a real fine line between talking about last year and talking about what you're going to do this year, but you got to do it when the band's playing. And I thought there was a real fine balance there, that of being proud of what we did, but also letting everybody know that we're not going to rest on our laurels, and we're going to go out there. And as Kirby said, we're going to be the hunter. We're not going to be the hunted. Our fans get to listen to me talk about the reason I don't think we'll ever get complacent here is just because the quality of players we have, the self-survival out there at practice. I mean, you're going out there every day against a 4 or 5-star player competing for a position going against somebody on the other side just like that. And if you want to slack off, you cannot do it because everybody's on GPS system. So you've got to, it's like if you're doing a stress test and a thallium stress test and they got a monitor on you, monitoring your heart. They're doing the same thing with every Georgia player, measuring his miles per hour, how fast he's running, what he's doing when he's resting. And, coaches monitor you too, but that guy on the GPS that's over there with that computer, if you're not doing what you're supposed to, he tells Kirby, and then all of a sudden Kirby's got that microphone and he belittles you to the rest of the team. What's wrong with you, 86, or why aren't you doing this? So it's a pretty good motivational factor to know that you're going to get stressed out there and do your best in practice.
Radi, you know how I like to find old pictures of Coach in action. How about one from SEC Media Days here?
Oh, there you go.
Is that me doing the yo-yo, or what am I doing?
Which players, how do you decide which players you take to these things? And do you remember any of the players you took to Media Days from Georgia?
Yeah, I mean, that's a nice-looking suit there. I don't even know if I still have that. It's like 25 years ago.
It hang loose on you today, though.
I was pretty young there. I don't know. Is that Mark Slayball talking to me?
Got to be a young Mark Slayball.
Yeah. I think that's the last time he ever spoke to me.
Somebody's going to get a text message about that one.
No, he doesn't affiliate with me. That's fine. But anyhow, that year, I know we had Richard Seymour and I don't remember who else was on that one, but maybe Champ. I know Champ went one year. He wasn't too fired up going in that small plane that we were taking. We didn't have the luxury of the planes that they got nowadays. I mean, Orville and Wilbur Wright flew in our plane.
You did it in Hoover, right? It was in Hoover every year for you.
Yeah. It was life or death every time you got in that plane, man. Woo.
But Coach, you mentioned complacency, and that's we have a clip from Kirby Smart talking about that because when he got up there and he did his opening statement, and I appreciate him thanking the media first. That was a nice touch of him, made us feel good. But he says that he had already been through that car wash, as you mentioned. He says, I've been asked 50 times about complacency. You guys can go ahead and ask, but I tell you, we're not going to be complacent. No, I've been asked, is Georgia going to be hunted, as you mentioned? And he said, we're going to be the hunter. So, Dayne, if you would, run a clip about Kirby because that was the theme. You won it once. Now are you guys just going to coast? And Kirby, no matter how many times he's asked, he just can't get through to people that's just not his MO.
So feel free when we open up for questions to ask me the concern there is for complacency. That does not concern me in the least, because to be complacent, you have to have done something and achieved something. The men on this team for this season have not done that. They have not. We had 15 players that are now gone to NFL camps or draft picks. They're gone. And we have some returning players, but they're hungry as ever.
There you go. Coach, as you pointed out, he still has that intensity, and he still has his coaches watching everybody. He's got the GPS tattletale on these guys, making sure they don't do it. But I remember he was asked numerous times, can you sum up what this team is? And he says it's hungry because a lot of those guys who were, I don't want to say, left behind, the guys who didn't go into the NFL, they want their shot at the NFL. They know that, we want a title, but I still got to make it to the NFL. I can't just coast on that. I'm not going to get drafted for the hell of it. So I don't think you're going to see a huge drop-off.
No, we're not. And you don't get to see everything on SEC Network, but he did have a separate interview with some SEC guys, kind of a roundtable thing. And they asked him what keeps him motivated and what every night when he goes to bed, what gets him going. And he said, the fact that I promised these parents and these young men, I'm going to do everything in my power to make them the best athlete and get the most out of them and the most academic success they can have. And I really believe that. That's his MO. And I thought that was a really good answer, that most coaches bear that burden. I mean, you want to make sure that you do everything you can and provide every resource to make a guy fulfill his or attain the level of success that you can get from them. And some of them in NFL, some of them might be the best deep snapper you could be, or the best cover guy you could be, whatever it might be, and everybody's got a role on the team. And I just think that we certainly stress the team atmosphere. It's not any kind of hunky-dory. I mean, the good teams have that. And he also talked about how people fail when they have success. I know that they do a lot of history about the Roman Empire going down from within, the Miami dynasty after they won a couple of years. What happened to them? I've talked to them about the Oklahoma situation where we had everything going for us and then kind of fell from within with some of the discipline areas that we had. So it's just, you got to make sure that you look at history because it's hard to repeat. I mean, there's not a lot of teams that do that. And, we'll have some good questions here tonight, but we don't want to just keep talking about what he said over and over because I think the questions are what's important now. But the biggest deal was if you had to give Georgia a grade on the day as far as how it was presented around the country, if you didn't know anything about the University of Georgia until today, you would have been thinking, holy moly, I can see how they win. I mean, that's what I would have thought.
Fans ought not take it for granted, though, because if you look at LSU had one of the best teams in the history of college football in 2019, and now they have a whole new regime in there, and it just floundered. Clemson looked unstoppable for multiple years in that conference, and then all of a sudden last year, not quite the same beast. It's very difficult to be at the spot that Georgia is. It's also very difficult to stay there. So I think these questions are fair, but I think the way that Georgia answered them was really strong.
Yeah, and it's something to be considered there, bringing out the LSU, which I thought was good there. Dayne, general manager, coming through with another good one there. Really good. But, they lost a lot of pro guys for sure. But they also had some guys that weren't supposed to go that ended up going and didn't get drafted that high. And their squad was diminished as far as difference maker players. You know what I mean? They had a lot of good players, and then some of their great players the next year got hurt. And if you just look at our roster right now, we lost 15 guys that signed NFL contracts. We also have 14 guys that left the program, regardless of how good they are or how bad they are or whatever their role was. Most of them really weren't going to play a very prominent role in our team, but we had 14 guys in the transfer portal. So that's 29 different players that we're not going to have from last year on our team. So that's a significant amount of players.
And Kirby was also asked, as you mentioned, sometimes he does every time. Not all of it's on the SEC network, and he did a sit down with the beat reporters. Our Anthony Dasher was there, and he was asked about the transfer portal, and he mentioned that, we didn't intend to be the only team that didn't take somebody in the transfer portal, but we're not going to take a guy just to take a guy. So, and when he was asked about the complacency, he said, look, were we going to fall off? No, he says, we got good players. And he kept giving the impetus for this upcoming season back to the players. He's like, look, I can't win the games, but I've got guys that can, and we've signed a really good class. And I guess the number one question he probably got after the complacency thing was about one of his players, and they asked him a lot of questions about Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett is a national story, a former walk-on who, led the team. And there was one really, really long question about Kirby. Did you feel justified or, vindicated when you actually won when Stetson Bennett won the game for you? And Kirby's like, look, it's not just on the one guy. And Coach, I hate to say it, but it feels like Kirby keeps beating the same drum. We're not complacent. It's not up to Stetson Bennett to win games.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that for 10 minutes. We're not complacent, so let's.
No, but that's what I'm saying. He got questions. He keeps getting questions about about Stetson Bennett, and we have a clip on that I want to run.
We're going to have those. We're going to have those the rest of his career. I mean, but
yeah,
I thought Stetson.
Let's hear what he had to say.
I thought Stetson did a really good job on that too. And we got that soundbite coming up, or is that what you were teasing?
Yep.
You're
rolling, Coach. You're a TV pro, and you're rolling over the
bad.
teams. Come on, man.
So when we control what we do and we do the right way, Stetson can be a major factor. And look, Stetson's one of the least respected good players there is in this country. And guess what? We get to see it every day. The kid's a tremendous athlete. He's got a good arm strength. People just keep doubting him, and that's fine with me.
Good question and answer there by Kirby. And I sent a couple messages to some of these people that I know yesterday, and I said, if you have a chance, I want you to walk up to Bryce Young and just kind of look how tall he is yesterday. And then today, walk up to Stetson Bennett and see how tall he is today. And you'll be amazed that Stetson's actually taller than the Heisman Trophy winner. So I don't know. I haven't got but one response back. And the guy said I was right. But I just wanted to shoot that one to him. But we're going to always have some doubters out there, which is okay, and he's not going to play perfectly this year, but he's going to have such a good supporting cast. And I really think that I've talked about this. I'm going to add it though. The fact that he's going to get first team reps throughout the fall camp, which he never has had. So he's going to be a lot better from that practice perspective and the spring practice that he had, plus all of the summer work, timing and everything. And the offensive line we got, and our offense was tailored last year going into the season to JT, who was a drop back passer. This year we'll have more play action, more movement stuff around him. So it'll be interesting to see the stats he puts up. And we heard a lot about all these different guys talking about the different packages we can have with the tight ends and all that. So what's the next one we got here? I don't want to hold up here.
Well, what I loved was Stetson Bennett talking about why he came back to Georgia, because you don't get this level of honesty from a lot of football players, and he's really good about telling you what he thinks.
I'm secure enough to, I can look in the mirror, I wasn't going to get drafted high last year, right? So what was the guarantee that I was going to go start in the NFL last year? It was probably pretty low, or this next year. It was probably pretty low. And so this is the best football. This is the best conference in the country. If we take care of business, then we take care of business here. You're competing against the best players. You got the best players on your team, best coaches. It's the smartest league. So, and I think it's the biggest honor in the world to be able to go out there with the G on the side of my helmet.
How about that? The biggest honor in the world is to put the G on. Anybody, that's the best I've ever heard right there. That's why you play, man. If you could grow up knowing that you could wear that G, come on. We need a commercial after that. We can't see anything, man. That was awesome.
A cigarette after that one.
Seriously, that guy wants to wear the G. Come on.
Now, and here's the thing.
You need Stetson Bennett haters after that. You need to get down on your knees and pray to God tonight that you didn't ever bash him anymore. Man,
Yeah,
that was awesome.
And here's the thing: the people who went out and have come out against him, they're going to be against him forever. And sure enough, every time he throws an interception or makes in Kirby's words, a boneheaded play, he's going to make them because he's a gunslinger, And guys, quarterbacks take chances. It's going to happen, and they're going to say, "See." But I tell you, even if you don't like the fact that he does, the number one thing that people complain, well, he's not a pro quarterback, and look at all the other teams that have pro quarterbacks. I'm like,
who? Let him get to the process after a year. He might be.
He might, yeah, I know. But my point being is
he'll get to go to a camp. He's got too good an arm and too good a knowledge, and that they'll look at him. That's for sure. But whether you get drafted, it all depends on how he does in the combine and all that. But
right. But the people that hold that against him, let's say it's true. Let's say he never gets drafted. I'm like, okay, so you don't have a NFL quarterback on your roster, but you have a championship-winning, college quarterback on your roster who dies for your school. We had the story the day after the national championship game. We had a long talk with his mom, and she went through point by point how reluctant he was to come back after Jones. He almost went and played for Billy Napier, not at Florida, but at
Louisiana.
Louisiana Monroe, and he's wanted to come back because he wanted a shot to compete, and he didn't feel like he might get it. He came back and then he didn't get it, and then he saved your butts at Arkansas, and he won you a title last year. It's like, okay, if he's not a great NFL quarterback, what the hell does that matter this year? Just let him. The kid will die for your school. So
did Buck Bellew play in the pros?
I'm sorry?
Buck Bellew, did he play in the pros?
I don't think he did.
Well,
I don't remember.
He's a good quarterback for Georgia, won a national championship, and he's
had a pretty good life since then.
Yeah,
yeah, that's the thing. It's like, look, this
other thing that Stetson said that I thought was really good was how COVID has enabled him to have a chance to play with his brother, and his brother more than is a walk-on wide receiver, and more than likely won't play a lot in any games this year. But like Stetson said, hey, if we could just have one game where I could throw him a pass, that would really make me happy. I mean, that was kind of awesome. I thought
very, very classy. And again, I'm not trying to defend Bennett. I want him to be criticized or complimented for the same criteria that you criticize and complain about Jacob Beeson, Jake Fromm, Justin Fields. The whole NFL potential argument to me just ticks me off. I'm like, look, Aaron Murray would come out here and Aaron Murray would take a bullet for this team and everybody loved him. I'm like, well, so will Stetson Bennett. So will Jake Fromm. So will Jacob Beeson.
It goes with being the Georgia quarterback.
That's
that's the way, and the Georgia coach, you're going to get it. But I do feel like the one thing that Stetson actually told me after the game when we were over there the next week, and he was saying he told me, he says, I'm going to play football next year, and at that time everybody's talking about Caleb Williams, all that other stuff, but he hadn't had a chance to talk to Kirby at that point. I knew he's probably going to stay here, but he said,
could have told us, Coach.
No, he just said, what he said to me was, I got a chance to play football one more year. I might not ever get to play again. Why wouldn't I play? That's the way, like people were saying, boy, you could just go out in the sun, ride off in the sunset, win the national championship, never have any more play. Hey, the guy likes to play football. You play the game. I mean, you love to play it. So I know one thing, most seniors that are watching this show tonight, if you're a senior in high school, senior in college, the best year you'll ever have as a player is your last year, because all those years you were moving up and sometimes playing ahead of your schedule. Maybe you're playing on the varsity when you're in ninth grade, or starting as a freshman in college and all that. Now you got a chance to be a senior and be, as some of you remember, the comradeship the rest of your life. And it's just, if you got an extra year like these super seniors have, take it, man. Take it.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate some people that mentioned that Buck Bellew played in the USFL, and someone said he could have played some baseball. And some people pointed out Tim Tebow didn't have a great college career. a great pro career, but he seemed to do pretty well in Florida. So, yeah, and probably was just as controversial. So, kind of love it. Anyway, I do want to mention our friends over at the Academia Brewing Company, because they have a show tomorrow that you need to go check out. They actually have their comedy night. Show tickets are only $8. It starts at 8 p.m. on July 21st. So Thursday, doors open at 7 o'clock. Show starts at 8. So if the doors open at 7, that means you can get in there and get you some fantastic beers. You can try some of their Hoprophrodisiac, their IQ IPA, some of the new stuff that they have coming out all the time. They have fantastic food, but it's going to be a fantastic comedy show. They've been doing this a lot. And of course, they always have their Trivia Tuesdays on, from 7 to 8 each week. Of course, they have their custom bus over there. You need to check it out. And they have car shows and everything. But tomorrow night, there's still tickets available from starting at 8 o'clock. Doors open at 7. Go to check out the comedy night at Academia Brewing Company. And also, speaking of food, it's not Double Points Tuesday. So this is a Wednesday, but it's Wednesday evening. If you haven't had dinner yet, swing by the local Your Pie, grab a peach and prosciutto pizza. You will absolutely love it. Or get the Nono's Italian sandwich, or get their summer peach salad. I've had that peach salad. That is probably the best salad I've eaten in a year. It's fantastic. So I know I grabbed a Southern Heat on my way down on vacation on the way out the door. I was going to get a second sandwich, but I decided not to be a glutton, so I just had a Southern Heat pizza.
So you just went to New Orleans instead and ate a lot of food.
Yeah. Well, you saw how much I ate there. But point being, now I'm still wanting these. I'm still thinking about the sandwich that I didn't order, and there's not a your pie around here, so I got a craving. So when I come back into town towards the end of this week, I know where I'll swing by. I'll swing by your pie and grab one. I just wish it was a Tuesday. That way I could order it on my app and get double points. But when you get a chance, hit up your pie for the peach and prosciutto pizza, and you will absolutely love it. All right, Dayne, I know you got some other clips there.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about get to the other guys that we mentioned. We've got 3 more clips we want to play here, and we'll get to NIL in a moment because that's what everyone wants to talk about at media days. But Nolan Smith was getting the same question of, hey, you lost a lot of guys on defense to the NFL. What about these young pups that are coming?
I see a bunch of young guys that fly around and just excited to learn football, excited to be under Coach Smart. I mean, he done it for 10, 12 years at Bama, being a great DC. And I just think that's the ultimate reason why I also came back, is to, being able to learn from him and just take every day in as you can, one step at a time, and be where your feet are. That's another thing that we learn.
He keep repeating that phrase of be present, be where your feet are. So I can tell that that's a mantra for this team already. Don't look in the past. Don't look in the future. What's going on right now?
Yeah, they seemed to coach to turn everything forward. They were asked a lot of questions about last year, and I know part of that is just media training, but a lot of it just seemed legit. And I'm not trying to psychoanalyze these guys, but I really think that they have mentally tried to compartmentalize last year's win. So, yeah, they'll answer questions politely, but everything that they were asked about last year, they rolled over into this year because it's like it's SEC Media Days for 2022. Your championship last year doesn't get you a first down. It doesn't get you, out of practice. It doesn't get you anything, maybe a free beer somewhere, but it's not going to help you this year. So everything was going forward.
True. I mean, we knew going in that hopefully that's the way it'd be, because that's been the kind of the mantra all spring and all summer, the way they've worked. And you just see the way these kids handle success, just like they handle adversity. I mean, they came back from a tough year last year, not getting to the playoff games, and just did what they had to do.
I do feel kind of bad for him, though. He was kind of shot down by Stetson Bennett. Yeah, he came over and crashed Stetson Bennett's interview and said he had a question for Stetson Bennett, and he asked him, "Hey, who's your favorite outside linebacker?" And Stetson Bennett, without missing a beat, said, "Bobby Beal, Robert Beal." And poor Nolan Smith's like, "That's all I needed to know." So you could tell these guys were having a lot of fun. They were cutting up, making jokes.
Stetson's quick now. He's got a little sharp sense of humor.
Yeah, that was good. That's the way to put it in on Nolan. That's good. So,
but and Nolan was asked in that clip there, about the young guys, and you got to think when he's looking over and seeing. He just saw all those guys go to the NFL, but he's looking over and seeing Mykel Williams. He sees Marvin Jones Jr. He's seeing those guys in the secondary. And what a competitor Nolan Smith is. He's licking his lips like, we got something here, we're going to be pretty good. So I kind of like what he was doing there. I liked his take on it.
Let's move on to get our final 2 clips. These are both about name, image, and likeness, because obviously that was a big topic there. Then we'll talk some recruiting and take some questions. First, Sedrick Van Pran on what NIL means for the team and team cohesion.
I think guys are going to do NIL, and, I think that's great. But the biggest thing I can say is, guys haven't lost focus of we're here to win games. At the end of the day, as student athletes, of course, we're going to get our education and those things. But when you're on the football field, it's time to work. It's time to win football games. So NIL really isn't discussed in the locker room, things like that. It's about winning for the University of Georgia.
I mean, seriously, that guy's been on campus here for 2 years. What I mean, what a great representative and what a good player. Probably going to come out next year, but you can see why he's a starting center. I mean, very intelligent, but just a good smile and team oriented. And that's impressive there. I mean, that's the first clip I've seen of him, but I've heard him talk before. But
that guy's smarter than any of us.
I mean, when this is over, everybody needs to go get a peach milkshake or something and just celebrate about God knows. What about Georgia Bulldogs? I mean, I don't know what you want to do to celebrate, but do something that, I mean, this impressive to watch these guys talk.
Well, while we're on NIL, let's get to Kirby, and then we'll wrap up. This will be our final clip. So this is what Kirby Smart had to say about name, image, and likeness.
The NIL program we have in place, we have a Classic City Collective run by Matt Hibbs, who does a tremendous job. It's built on being sustainable, because I don't think what's going on in college football right now at some places is sustainable, meaning can you do that year in and year out and repeat that? Can you honor the commitment that some people are trying to make to kids to get them to go to their school? It's just, it's not good for college football, what's out there.
Great point by Kirby there, because, the first rattle out of the box, everybody can, donate and do all that, but then you keep asking them every year. I don't know if you can keep it going, but a couple examples he made were Dan Jackson, who was a walk-on, who's a starter now. But because of the collective or because of some kind of NIL deal, and it's around the country, people are doing this. They're using it as a chance to pay for their education, so they don't necessarily count against the 85, which we've talked about before. You can have 85 guys on scholarship, and that's another reason we haven't really gone in the transfer portal, because we're hanging right there at 85, and there's not one available for somebody. But, I'm sure that could happen. But the point is, Dan Jackson is making enough money to pay for his, his schoolwork and some more on the side. And then he mentioned some young man whose father was having to get dialysis and didn't have any insurance down in South Georgia. He'd probably have to quit to go to work down there to help support his father. But
was that Micah Morris, I believe?
Maybe so. General
Savannah.
General manager, but. Who knows? But I was trying to not point out who it was, kind of, so somebody wouldn't think we were trying to.
Oh, I thought that he said the name on there too. So
he did, but it was like a jump ball there. I was trying to keep from saying who it was, but you're right. So anyhow, the point is, though, the kid doesn't have to leave here to go help his family. He can make some money through the NIL, and his dad can get some treatment, and that's great. But the other thing Kirby pointed out was we got 95 guys on some kind of NIL here. So that means 10 guys that aren't on scholarship are getting some money too. So, whether it's whoever it might be, that's great that they're getting a chance to get some of that bread too.
Well, when the NIL came out, people were like, well, is the long snapper going to get NIL? Well, yeah, they are. That's how this is working.
Dude, I want a long snapper on scholarship every year.
I know this. I've talked to some coaches around the country that like NIL for what we're talking about, but don't like it for these promises that people may or may not keep. But it does help you get more people on your roster, though. I mean, I know when, and I guess this is admitting that you weren't doing something right, but sometimes you don't have a scholarship for somebody. And you say, look, if you'll go over there to such and such over there on Peachtree Boulevard over there in Atlanta, you might be able to get a job to help you pay for your scholarship. Now, I don't ever know that I ever said that.
But you wouldn't say such a thing with the way that things were at the time, of course.
Yeah, I'm sure Rodney Gardner never did that for you.
Oh, yeah, some walk-ons, I mean.
Yeah, that's true.
They got the Hope Scholarship and then got something else. But now it's legal to do that, and you can have more guys that maybe will be on the bubble and had a chance to go to maybe Georgia Southern or Georgia State or somebody else because they needed a scholarship but wanted to come to Georgia. And now you can do that through the NIL.
Coach just pretty much said that one of his top recruiters was Zell Miller with the Hope Scholarship.
No, that's a good point.
that's Hope Scholarships helped a lot of sports at Georgia. You know, Jack Byerly, the swimming coach. I mean, there's a lot of guys and girls that got swimming aid like that, and baseball. I mean, you don't have but like 13 full scholarships in baseball. I mean,
Like
you need
55 guys, yeah.
Yeah, but NIL now it's legal, man.
Oh, I love it.
You didn't come up with that. That's been in your text with some
No,
people.
I mean, people. I'm just saying it is. I just want to make sure that it is legal. And
It is.
I tell you, I mean, there had to back in the day, there had to be some human decency in some things when a kid didn't have a coat and it was cold, or I mean, if you're gonna get caught for cheating because he helped them buy a coat or something, I mean, that's ridiculous.
I think
Now,
Kirby
car might be different, you know, give him a car.
well, you got to get into practice, coach.
Yeah.
I thought Kirby made a good point about it not being sustainable, and I actually retweeted Jed May's paraphrase of Kirby Smart's comments about the fact that it's not sustainable. And we're hearing some of those numbers thrown around: 9 million for this guy, 11 million for that, and you're like, okay, that's not real. But you are talking millions.
It is real. It is real. It's just not sustainable.
Well, yeah. And so I didn't believe some of those numbers until I started hearing them. And then I'm thinking, okay, let's say you got a $5 million deal for a quarterback in 2023. Well, the 2024 quarterback is going to want $5 million too, or, you know, he's going to want more than that. And when you, at year 3 or 4, you haven't won a title and you go to these donors and go, hey, we need some NIL money. We need some, these kids are going to want a deal when they get here. And the guy that gave you $5 million the first time so that the kid could advertise his luxury resort is going to say, hell no. No, I did that. I got burned on that last quarterback you guys got. I had him as the face of our program and the face of our advertising. We gave him a ton of money, and now we got zero return on it. Plus, you didn't win. So I don't know that we sold more units, but maybe we did. But the whole point was to support the program, and hell, you guys went 8-4 in your season last year. So
yeah, I think Lane Kiffin did a really good job on Monday of talking about the NFL. You know, has some some rails that you got a roster management as far as salary cap. You got all this stuff built in, and he said when you start getting into this situation where boosters are starting to give money, then they're going to want to know why isn't this guy playing? Just like Radi said, if he doesn't play, why should I give the guy to the next year, like you just said? And there's got to be some controls about who's allocating, and you certainly don't want to give more money to a guy that's not in your mind. You're the ones rating the players, the alumni people aren't. So that nobody knows how that's controlled right now. I mean, you can talk about it all you want to, but supposedly this kid at Tennessee getting $2 million a year for 4 years, and he's already switched schools for his last year. He's moved to another high school, so I don't know if that means he wants to get more money for going to that school or what. But
when Kirby was talking to the Texas high school coaches, he alluded to the fact that at a young age, he didn't perceive himself, Kirby Smart, 18, 19 years old, of being able to manage and handle large sums of money that way. So I thought it was kind of apropos that the same week that he says that Classic City Collective made its announcement that they've partnered with Truist to provide financial literacy, financial resources, how to manage your money, provide those things for Georgia athletes, because that's a big piece of this that people aren't talking about, because a large sum of money can also ruin your life if you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd like to try that.
It came out right off the bat that these kids got to understand they're going to get taxed on this money.
Yeah.
And are they putting some money aside for the taxes? Or, when we used to have kids in the first week, we would show them how to write a check and do everything. It's just so many young guys nowadays. So, I mean, everything's so controlled on your phone. I don't know how some of these people do what they got to do with some of these phones they have. I don't know how they can get through with these flip phones and stuff. But
yeah, I hadn't really thought about the fact, Coach, if let's say you're a major donor to the university, to your favorite university, You put an NIL deal together from your company for a star player, and then the coach sits him, and you're like, wait, I'm not. If you don't pay the guy who I'm paying, or you don't play the guy who I'm paying, I don't get a good return on my investment. Coach, you're making a mistake there. And then what happens if all of a sudden the guy stops paying the kid? The kid's not going to be upset with the NIL guy. He's going to be upset with your school. And now he's got recourse right into the transfer portal. So you're right about the sustainability of it. If they actually get to the point where it's one more thing that's out of your hands. If a payment's late, if a check bounces, if they change their mind, now all of a sudden the kid's like, well, I'm going to take it out on the school that I'm at. I'm not going to take it out on maybe the NIL provider. So there's a
lot of hypotheticals. You're covering that good. So what do we got next?
I think we're moving on to talk about Dead Soxy and what, if you want to have some of the best socks in the world, you need to get it from those fellas.
Yeah, they get that true state technology that keeps them up, and they're incredibly comfortable. I'm actually at the beach, and I had stepped on something I probably shouldn't have, and felt good to actually get back into my socks, right? my Dead Soxy no-shows. It just felt better. And shout out to Brooks shoes, because those are some nice shoes that I was wearing with them. But the flat seams, the buttery soft feel, all the stuff that Dead Soxy does. And I like the fact that we saw, pretty sure Lane Kiffin was rocking a pair of those. So point being, the man knows quality. And if anybody needs great socks, Dead Soxy has them. I know our friends over at the 7-6 who have, they just announced 3 more NIL deals with Georgia players. That's an apparel company. They have partnered up with Dead Soxy to actually put out some Georgia title socks that you can get over there, and some Georgia themed socks. So point being, Dead Soxy is a huge up-and-comer. Everybody that deals with them raves about them. Every time I go to their website, I see new 5-star reviews about them. It's the in thing. They've gone viral. They've been written about in Esquire, Men's Health, Forbes, Men's Journal, GQ. I mean, it's they're just real. I don't want to say it's a secret, but I mean, it's they're
darn good socks. That's what they are.
Yeah, people don't know about them, but they're growing by leaps and bounds. So when you get a chance, check out Dead Soxy and use promo code UGASports to get quite the discount. And I also want to mention our friends over at Athens Ford. I mentioned them just in passing. I noticed that somebody asked, we're talking about NIL, somebody asked Nolan Smith, about his NIL deal, and he mentioned Ford. That's he says, I'm a country boy, and I think you should ride the big truck. I think Ford makes the best truck, and if someone wants to come back, real men drive Fords. And I'm like, well, there you go. So he's doing his NIL pitch on Ford trucks, but that's from the heart. You can't just pitch it like that if you're just because you're being paid to. I mean, that's a legitimate, sincerely held belief that you get from Nolan Smith, and he's promoting Ford trucks. I drive a Ford, and I will tell you, if you're a student, you get a $500 discount. If you've been in an active, if you're a veteran or active military, you get a $500 discount. All that said, Athens Ford, of course, you get the lifetime powertrain warranty. So hit up Athens Ford if you want to get a truck like Nolan Smith. It's where the real men are. He said it. I'm just quoting the man.
Kirby got one too.
Yes, it's official truck of Georgia Sports. So hit him up when you get a chance.
We should also touch on, we're going to try to sneak in a little bit of roster news and then some questions before we wrap this show. We've been pretty packed today. So in the last week, we've had, Radi, you broke the news over at UGAsports.com that Marlin Dean no longer with the program at Georgia. So there is one spot that will be available on the roster, however that gets filled in the future. And then on the recruiting front, we've got Justice Haynes committing to Alabama out of the blue. That was a surprise. But then Georgia kind of rebounding a bit yesterday with defensive lineman in North Carolina, Jamaal Jarrett.
Yeah, I mean, you hate that for Marlin. I'm not sure what the bottom line was, but after reading that with Radi, I checked over there, and he was right. He's not on the team anymore, so we'll just have to find out why. But as far as Justice Haynes, just a real shocker because of his dad, but at the same time, a lot of times these kids want to pave their own way, and we're going to have a 2-part point here. He followed in his dad's footsteps his whole life, and I'm sure they were hitting him, hey, you're just going to follow your dad and all that, and we got this, blah, blah, blah. So in the end, he stepped up and went to Alabama, and it's a tough loss because he's a very good player. But Jamaal Jarrett, defensive tackle from Grimsley High School, was playing in the shadow of Travis Shaw there, the great lineman last year that went to North Carolina, and he kind of said the same thing. I want to be my own man and get away from being in his shadow and come down to the University of Georgia. So it works out both ways.
Yeah, I thought I was really surprised when the Justice Haynes news went down. We just finished up a UGASports weekend in New Orleans, and I think Jed was in the airport waiting to fly back when Justice called him and said, look, I'm about to announce this like in the next hour. So, of course, Jed dropped what he was doing. He and Blaine Gilmer and Jed, they have a very good relationship with the entire family over there, the whole Haynes family, to the point that it was about 2 weeks ago that they reached out to UGASports and said, hey, we're ready to commit to Georgia. We want to film a commitment video. And we, sometimes do that as a team. If somebody requested, we only ask that, we get the exclusive when that happens. And Blaine Gilmer was lining up a commitment video. He was going to set it up and shoot the whole thing. So, or have, a company that he knows shoot it. So 2 weeks ago, and it was kept super quiet. So 2 weeks ago, the kid was going to commit to Georgia, but then he had a change of heart and is going to Arkansas. But I think Georgia's had a really good run. They've gotten Jamaal Jarrett, which, again, that's the number 2 defensive tackle in the nation. Kelton Smith, I think, decides tomorrow. That's a big offensive tackle out of Columbus, or offensive lineman, maybe a guard. Georgia like their chances there. And then Janelle Aguero is going to be deciding soon. So you could have 3 commits this week, even though you lost on a kid. So it's, as Coach says, it comes and goes. And here's the thing. Just because a kid decides in July that he wants to go somewhere, he can change his mind down the road, or he can change his mind after being at a school for a couple of years. I think there's a couple programs in the SEC who are going to see a lot of top players hit the transfer portal because, as Coach pointed out, when you stack them up like cordwood, there's only so many playing spots. And Kirby and those guys are recruiting for the transfer portal. It's like, hey, Justice, sorry you're not coming to Georgia, but if you ever decide to leave, we got open arms here for you. So, and of course, they love the kid. So I think it's the miss, Coach. When you miss on a kid, nowadays it's a lot easier to get them back. There's second chances, I should say.
Want to get some questions?
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's have it.
We'll sneak in one from UGA Alum 95 says, with the rise of underperforming schools in recruiting rankings like Tennessee, Miami, and Texas, even Louisville, is NIL money Kirby's kryptonite recruiting power?
I don't think it's against Kirby. I just think it gives some of these schools that are trying to get back in the hunt, it's a lot easier to do that than just say, hey, we're going to win and all that. Now you can back it up with a little money on top of it. So, but Kirby doesn't have any kryptonite in recruiting. That's a good word to use for Superman and all. But if he's not the number one recruiting head coach in America, who is? Nick?
I mean, it's got to be him or Saban, right? Just if you look at the rankings in the last few years.
I just think you go back to when he was at Alabama, all those guys he recruited when he was there and now here. So, I mean, I don't think we ever have to worry about Kirby slacking off on recruiting. We'll finish in the top 3, and Radi's down at the beach. What do those people wear on the beach? Flip-flops. There's going to be flips here.
It's subtle, Coach, subtle.
We're going to flip some guys.
Yeah, that's true. You'll flip some guys, and also think that there's some big names that have yet to decide. And George's going to land a few of those. I don't – to UJ Alum 95's question about, is the NIL, I think you'll see 1 or 2 guys. Like I think Missouri basically went all in to get Luther Burden. And so there'll be a couple guys that you're targeting that a smaller school that's not has as much success, they will put together, their boosters will put together something that will draw that kid there. But again, if it doesn't work out or he's not winning there, he's not being featured, well, he'll go into the transfer portal. Kirby's going to
we got caught on Lose the Burden about his high school coach, though. We didn't have any idea that his 10th grade, the coach was going to be that he liked in the 10th grade that stopped coaching was that they hired him. And they hired him the day that we thought we were getting him. I mean, they slipped one in on us. But
yeah, but I get to my point. I mean, I think a hit or miss here or there, but overall, yeah, I like where Georgia is. You got to like where Alabama's going to be. People's like, oh, Alabama's class isn't great right now. Give it time.
Yeah, it's early. It's early, and we got plenty. The NIL is not ever going to be an issue here. We got plenty of that. I mean, we did more, but we. For your head coach to say you got 95 guys on some kind of NIL deal, I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
OU Herschel Walker says, Coach, do you have a favorite moment or story from media days yourself? Also, did Phil Fulmer ever give you his pumpkin pie recipe? And he says the question was if you met him at midfield in Knoxville in 1997. Buddies asked what you said, and you were giving him a piece of your mind. And OU Herschel Walker said that he told his buddies that you were telling Phil about your pumpkin pie recipe. So this is kind of an inside joke from him and his friends. But he wants to know what you and Phil were talking about at midfield and your media days.
I can tell you one thing. If I ever make one, it'll be the first one I ever made. So I don't have a pumpkin pie. But I was mad because they were still throwing at the end of the game. We threw in the towel, put in our second team and everything. But they beat us every way they could. We had a poor performance. That was the poorest game we had, except maybe Southern Miss game the first year I was here. And well, there's a lot of them you could say, but I just told him I thought it was a couple bad words in there. But anyhow, we always had a good relationship. I mean, I talked to him after that, and I got no problem with Coach Fulmer on anything.
Media days.
That's part of the question. Media day.
Yeah, media day. Favorite story moment. Anything sticks out?
I went down there, and Claude Felton is the best. I mean, he walks you around, and you go to these different places, and you just go where he tells you, And he said, Coach, there's this guy waiting on you that wants to talk to you. I don't know what he wants, but he said, please let me see him. And so I'll go up there, and this guy's got this yo-yo. And he says, Coach, I saw where you won the yo-yo contest when you were in junior high school and all. Can you still do it? And I said, of course I can do it, but I'm not going to do it here in the lobby of this hotel. He said, just do it for me, and I'll just – we didn't have video camera like phones and all. He had some little camera. And I said, well, let me see if it'll sleep, because you can't do any tricks if you want. And so I practiced over on the side, and I did a few tricks for him right there in the lobby.
A man of many talents.
I mean, I can't coach, but I can yo-yo.
Hey, for the watch along, and again, we're still looking for sponsors for our watch along show. So if you're watching this and you have a company who would like to advertise on the watch along show, hit us up and be a sponsor. But maybe, Coach, in between your Elvis songs, we can get you a solo yo-yo round.
I'm just telling you right now, if you don't go see Elvis, something is wrong with you. That guy is unbelievable in his portrayal of Elvis. You couldn't have anything any better than that. And I'm hard on people about Elvis, but that guy was. I would go see it again probably.
Awesome.
We got 5 minutes left in the show. I don't know. I said we got. My Bruton came out in me. We have 5 minutes left in the show. P-Tech 1, do you think Oregon has an advantage over Georgia in the fact that Lanning has so much familiarity with Georgia's team?
They have a little more advantage than most teams would have just because of that. But at the same time, he doesn't know, what exactly we're going to do, how we're going to use the packages. And sometimes too much. You're saying, well, they might do this, and this is their counter, and then you got something different. Thinks he knows the signals, and we've changed them and all. But he'll have his team prepared, and we'll have our team prepared. But, I'm happy for Dan, and he's done a really good job out there and really getting some good transfers too. But, I like our chances against their team. We got an advantage too in the fact that Brian McClendon, our wide receiver coach, was their receiver coach last year. So he knows their personnel too. So it's kind of a back and forth there.
And nobody's talking about that piece. That's what we have Coach Donnan to remind us.
Yeah.
Who's
I'd completely forgotten that.
Bring it up, then. Let's do it.
NY Dog 34, do we keep the UCLA game on the schedule for the 2025 season with OU and Texas seemingly joining the SEC that year? How would Coach Donnan approach the out-of-conference scheduling moving forward once the expansion, likely 9 conference games, according to NY Dog 34, when that happens in the future?
Very good point by him. And we got a game coming up with supposedly with Oklahoma next year. And I know Oklahoma's got a game with Tennessee scheduled too. So you got to look at that right now, whether those are viable games with them coming into the league, either 2023, 24, or 25, depending on when they get out of the Big 12. But as far as non-conference game, UCLA is going in the Big 10. So, it's a good game to help you in the scheduling as far as making the playoff. And I think that with these mega conferences coming up, you're going to have to see at least an 8-team playoff if you've got 2 20-team conferences. I mean, Big 10 has 20 and ours has 20. People are saying we're going to stay at 16. Who knows? But we got to see 18. I think especially if you're playing 9 conference games, you know what I mean? Because you're playing such tough games every week. So some of the best teams in the SEC aren't going to be undefeated and can't make it in a 14 playoff. So, I think you're going to see scheduling maybe go down a little bit non-conference wise just because who you're having to play. For instance, in 2020, when we just played conference games, you saw the toll it took on our team throughout the year, just the physicality playing the SEC team every week.
Yeah. Let's get some questions here from YouTube on our final 2 minutes. Clifton Riles, Coach Donnan, could Champ Bailey talk trash and back it up?
Champ could do about anything he wanted to. He wasn't a big trash talker. He was just more of a, follow by example. But I saw him talk some trash at an intramural basketball game one night when he scored 36 over there in the 8-minute quarters. He could do about anything he wanted to. So he could back it up.
This from Thomas Dew. Can Nolan Smith help his draft stock this season for next year's NFL draft?
Oh, definitely. I think that's why he came back. He wasn't on the field quite as much as he'll be this year. He'll have a lot of chances to rush the passer because we're going to be ahead a lot and people playing from behind. He's an excellent defender, dropping back. You saw him intercept a couple passes last year. One of them counted, one of them didn't maybe. And he's very good at playing multiple positions along the line there to rush the passer. So he definitely enhanced his stock. And his intelligence factor is going to help him too because his ability to understand defenses and he's just the kind of guy any NFL team would want to have.
Not a question from Killian Worthy, but we want to share our gratitude. He just says, Coach, I love your commentary and the weekly content you always provide us and all the dog news. He says, go damn dogs.
Well, I appreciate that. That's what you call a Jim Donnan IRA. I appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
2 more. Foster Moss. Do y'all believe it's a chance that Justice Haynes is a flip by December?
I would say probably not, just because how much it took for him to come out against us. Not that he's against us, but just not. I don't mean it like it. Going and having the wherewithal to go on and go to Alabama. He might could have flipped out of here because of somebody jumping in, but I don't know. I would say, wouldn't you, Radi? I'd say it'd be hard for him to flip.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough to make that call because he knew how much it would disappoint the Georgia fans. But once you've made it, it's a lot easier to stick there. Plus, it's Alabama. It's not like he's going to a small school nobody's heard of. He's got a pretty good gig there. So,
plus he's buddying up a lot with Caleb Downs. I don't know if they're trying to make it a package deal, both of them together, or what. But I know they both were hanging out at Ohio State and we're over here, so I sure hope we can get Caleb. But you never know. But it's all of us here on this website and the rest of it. So you can't get too concerned about the guys you lose. I mean, it hurts, but there's plenty of players out there, plenty of them.
Yeah.
And finally, this common topic, but it has come up a bit this week at Media Days. Jerry Dogs fans says, do y'all think the Jacksonville game against Florida should be home and home? It's tradition, but Kirby does have a point about recruiting.
Well, I mean, my point on it is certainly Kirby wanted new facilities. Kirby wanted a new building. Kirby wanted all that. I mean, he's the guy that has to be the champion of the situation. And he sees the fact that when we have a home game against Notre Dame, or we have a home game against Auburn, and all those kids are there and see that electricity, the same thing, that you got one more chance every 2 years to be playing the Gators and recruit into that kind of atmosphere too. It's pretty dang impressive. You know what I mean? So he's looking at it strategically to get better players. You got one game a year where neither team gets a chance to recruit. And it's great for the fans. I mean, it's an awesome venue and it's good, and everything's great about going down there and spending a week and taking off and all that, and the tradition and everything. But I got to look at it as whatever pleases Kirby is going to please me.
I think this is one of those things that'll work itself out over time because it's about money. And Georgia and Florida make more money at that game currently than they would with home games. I don't think that will persist with the way that college football is seeing money. And I think at some point, Jacksonville's going to get outpriced.
Especially the other thing, too, is the TV money that they're going to add on with Oklahoma and Texas coming in. You can maybe make up for that a little bit with that added money coming in. You know, I mean, you're just going to get – I mean, it's going to be $100 million, I think. First package when they're playing all those teams. Every team and 16 teams will get $100 million.
Yeah, that's when you start looking at numbers like that, it's like, okay, well, the donors will be unhappy. Well, the donors aren't matching what the TV revenue is. TVs are going to start calling the shots. For years, everyone said, oh, we need to move that game. I'm like, not a chance. Because a lot of your big donors bought houses down there specifically for that weekend, you know. And anytime you talked about moving it, you'd get a call from the folks in that silver circle. They're like, the hell you will. And the donors, you know, they call the shots. That's not going to your point, Dayne, when TV's calling the shots, TV might say, hey, no, we like the idea of Georgia hosting Florida. We like covering the swamp, you know. Maybe the TV says, no, we like the world's largest outdoor cocktail party in Jacksonville.
It's good.
You know?
It's good from a national perspective to come in there every week with that. Every year for that. It's a good venue. But I get back to what I said earlier about Kirby wanted the indoor building and the donors came through. Kirby wanted, and it's not just Kirby, but Kirby, Josh Brooks, Dr. Moore, they wanted the addition to the stadium, and $63 million was raised. Now the new building, $75 million. So if he says he wants to play at home, I would say most of those people are going to back him on that, just like they did the other one.
Coach has spoken. The final word.
I'm just listening to what he says. I mean, recruiting is the paramount. I mean, Barry Switzer, the acquisition of talent is the premier part of building the program. You get the players, you got a chance. You don't get them.
Well, that's exactly what Kirby said today when it was like, what about complacency? What about, can you repeat? He's like, we got the players. And we still have the players. We got a bunch of guys that want to go out there and show what they can do. And when you're looking at Marvis Jones Jr. and Jaheim Singletary and, Dalen Everett and Bayer Alexander, you're like, yeah, I think we're going to be good.
I point out to Radi pretty frequently.
You know what makes my mouth water?
What?
It's just drive over there and get out of my car about 5 minutes before they're stretching for the off-season program and just get out and walk through and see those guys stretching.
Yeah.
It
Hey,
just,
you know talent when you see it, Coach.
no, I mean, you just see the athleticism and their
Yeah.
flexibility, their
Eyes,
they just
speed. Yeah.
eyeball test. They passed the eyeball test. I mean,
That's why you do the show with me. I pass the eyeball test.
yeah,
But Radi, it's also why I remind you that the acquisition of talent for your team is the key to success, and you've done a fantastic job of it, if I might add.
Oh my God! Yes, Jed's great.
Paul,
general manager. Every team can't have but one general manager, though. We got
thank you,
one.
Coach. Thank you. You got the best one in the business, right?
That's right. That's right. You know, we used to have this one coach. He would say this every time about everybody, and he'd say, "If you're not the best, you're in the top two."
I love it. Yeah. So when it comes to to our video analysis guy and technical wizard, Dayne, you may not be the best, but you're in the top two.
Yes, sir. I'll take it.
He is. Just remember when you're going on the beach tomorrow, Roddy, see if you see any flip flops.
If I can see past all the fat people with bad tattoos, I'll look for flip flops.
There's a lot of bad tattoos down there.
Oh my God, there's so many bad tattoos. Oh, I'm the only person that goes to the beach and does like this because I don't want to look at people. So, but I'll be back here soon. And speaking of being back, we'll be back.
Good idea tonight. After with all these clips and stuff, and getting a chance to do this after the fact instead of just projecting what was going to happen because we'd have been wrong on all of it. So it was very good. And
Coach is saying good idea, but he texted first and say, "Hey, let's move the show so we can do this." And then
I'm talking about these clips and everything. I told you the clips. I didn't say the fact we had it. I didn't have any idea you were going to be able to transpose those clips and everything. I was outstanding and good job on it. And I did a poor job of teeing them up too. So. It's limited. But
you've been away from ESPN for a while. We get it.
I would say this, everybody, if you can, go on YouTube and put James Brown on. I
feel good.
I feel good.
There you go. And you should. And like you said, Coach said, grab a peach milkshake, celebrate the state of Georgia.
Yeah, that'd be good. The peach milkshake. Chick-fil-A, I'm going to be up there in about a New York minute.
Hi, folks. If you want to come back, as we talked about returning, tune in next Tuesday at noon. We will have another UGA Sports Live with Coach Donnan for you to check out. And a big shout out to all our podcast sponsors, Your Pie. Speaking of the peach, you'll get a peach and prosciutto. Athens Ford, Academy Brewing Company, and Dead Soxy. Check them out, and we will check you out next Tuesday at noon.
I got one thing else I want to ask. Because all of you do these comments and everything, how many of you that watch tonight like having a night show occasionally? And if you don't like it, say it too. Just say it. So it's starting to get close to my bedtime. But anyhow, it's a good. Let us know. Hey, we got to get the fan approval or disapproval. Hey, tell us what you think.
If you want some Donnan after dark, let us know.
That's pretty good. Pretty good. I can really tell some good jokes after dark.
There you go.
All right, say good night, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.